السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. زكي بحييكم من العاصمة اليوغندية كامبالا من داخل مسجد الغذافي في كامبالا، أقدم المساجد طبعا. قبل كده عملنا فيها فيديوهات. اليوم هنتناول موضوع المسلمين والإسلام، كيف بيعيشوا وكيف بيتعايشوا مع المجتمع اللي حواليهم في يوغندا. لو مهتم خليك معي لحد نهاية الحلقة، ما تمشي بعيد. أكيد هنقابل واحد من المسؤولين عشان يدينا الإفادة الوافية والشافية. خليكم معي.
هل واجهتك مشاكل في تعلم اللغة الإنجليزية بأفضل الطرق؟ أنت طالب أو موظف وتعاني من التواصل مع زملائك الأجانب. تحلم بالهجرة إلى كندا أو أستراليا واللغة الإنجليزية هي عائق بالنسبة لك؟ هيا لنتحدث اللغة الإنجليزية بطلاقة عبر الجامعات الأوغندية، التي تعتبر اللغة الإنجليزية هي اللغة الرسمية بالدولة، وأيضاً توفر العديد من الدراسات بالجامعات الأوغندية وكورسات اللغة الإنجليزية والشهادات العلمية، وذلك عبر شركة بوداي بزنس سولوشنز، والتي توفر لك فرص الدراسة بالجامعات الأوغندية وتقوم بكافة إجراءاتك وأنت في بلدك، وتضمن نقلك من دولتك إلى أوغندا، وتوفر لك السكن الجامعي والتنقل داخل أوغندا، حيث أنها وكيل معتمد لدى بعض الجامعات الأوغندية. كما تزف البشرى للطلاب السودانيين بفتح مقرها الجديد في الخرطوم قريباً. بوداي بزنس سولوشنز، معك إلى النجاح.
السلام عليكم.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله.
Let's get to know you first.
Ziwa Ashraf. I'm the spokesperson of Uganda Muslim Supreme Council.
How the community of Islam in Uganda progressing?
Yeah, the community of Islam in Uganda is so much progressive. We are the minority in the first place. We are our entire population is over 40 million people, and out of that, we are the third members of the community. We could be approaching almost like 12 or 13 million strong population of citizens.
So most of the Muslims, they base in Uganda, in Uganda, in Kampala, or in different regions?
Muslims live in all regions of the country, and we have areas where they are the majority, where they are like for instance, when you go to a certain region, which is called West Nile, which is bordering Uganda and Sudan and Congo, majority of the cities there are Muslims.
Okay.
And then we have also some other areas and towns where Muslims also they are majority.
So that means we have a lot of mosques around.
We have almost everywhere mosques. We have, like for instance, we have community mosques, which are public mosques. We have such other mosques which belong to institutions, like hospital, like prison, like schools. Then we have other mosques which belong to individuals, family mosques. And then automatically those which are community based are the ones which are always registered by Uganda Muslim Supreme Council.
There is any numbers of
almost we have almost 15,000 mosques registered mosques
around.
Yes.
So what's the main sect of Muslims?
We are Sunni.
Most of them, or all of them?
Sunni.
Sunni.
Yes.
So all of them.
Majority of Ugandans are
the majority
Sunni.
They are Sunni.
There are very few pockets of those who subscribe to sects like Shia, like Ahmadiyya. There are very few Ugandans whom we could find. We could hardly find them actually.
Okay.
And the only people who subscribe to such beliefs are those who are foreigners, coming from the countries where this kind of beliefs came from.
So that means we have kind of Muslim schools, which we call them, like where they teach Quran for the kids
for us here,
and for the adults.
Yes, for us here we call them madrasa.
Madrasa, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
So
and
you
then
have that.
We have them in olden times. Before the British colonized our country, we used to have that kind of arrangement. So when they took over, then they were phased out, and then they introduced what we call schools, which were established schools. So those schools got incorporated under the teachings, under the curriculum of Islamic-based curriculum. So they incorporated both secular and Islam. And Muslims were encouraged to build such schools.
Okay.
Yes. And then, of course, we had some Muslims who resisted this kind of arrangement, and then they maintained their madrasa schools.
Okay.
So we still have them. At the same time, majority of our schools now are government aided, which operates on the curriculum which is approved by the Minister of Education.
Okay.
And also ours, which is also approved by the Uganda Muslim Supreme Council.
Okay.
Yes.
Then I heard like in the news there was some challenges with those madrasas.
Yes. It is all over the world. There was some bad conception which emanated from what they used to hear, that such schools were manipulated by some elements within our faith who used them to advance their political agendas. More especially, they branded them as being the breeding grounds. Actually, that's how they termed them, breeding grounds of terrorism.
Okay.
And then they started scrutinizing them. Security worldwide, even here, they started scrutinizing them. And then they started arresting the sheikhs who are teachers, and also the directors of the such schools. Many of them were cracked down, and some were even closed.
That's good.
Yes. And then what we did as Uganda Muslim Supreme Council, by then, that was in 2016, around there, under the Department of Education, they put in place a team of researchers to go and research what exactly was being taught in such schools. Unfortunately, the results wasn't good. We discovered, first of all, if you could go to such schools, they were in sorry state. They lacked infrastructure. They even, the teachers themselves who are teaching in such schools were not trained. They lacked reading materials. Even the method of teaching was very poor.
So that means
yes,
that means some of it, like the government was right about it.
Yes, the government was right, because in case you could gather children to be taught, you have to create an environment which is conducive for learning.
Yes.
Yes. So in most of those schools, they are in very poor state. The way they feed the children, the way they accommodate them, the way the teaching methods were very poor. So it needed overhauling. That is why the Supreme Council started the process of how they can clean up such education, because we need it. In the first place, this kind of education is very important, being it is the source where we teach our the religious teachers, the religious personalities of tomorrow, whom we call the sheikhs. For us here, we have our hierarchy. We call them the imams of the mosque. Then we have those who head the counties. We call them county sheikhs. Then we have the district qadis. Then we have the regional qadis. Then of course we have the entire Muslim clergy.
So it's like a well-organized, structured.
Yes, we structured. And then our topmost leader is the Mufti of Uganda. So they train our religious, our clerics, trained through that kind of theological training. They undergo that kind of theological training to become our religious leaders. So in case you face them out, it is as if you've declared war on Islam itself. And yet Islam is part of the society here. It is enshrined as one of the beliefs, which Muslims are one of the people who have the freedom of worship.
Talking about that, how is it work with the Sharia in terms of, community life? If, let's say about marriage, inheriting, those kind of law, is it applicable? Like
it is
Muslim,
applicable.
they have like exception on that.
Actually, very interesting. We could be the only country, we are the only religious community here in Uganda who was incorporated in our national constitution. The Muslims of Uganda were permitted by the Constitution of Uganda, the Republic of Uganda, to practice inheritance according to our beliefs. Also Sharia courts, we call them Qadi courts. Yes, they accept they were incorporated, and also they incorporated our marriage according to our Islamic beliefs. And then they also accepted the inheritance, as I've just mentioned. So those three components were accepted, and it's also enshrined in our constitution. So it is upon us Muslims to practice them. And of course we have the...
Or you can opt out, like to go from the different way.
You can different way. But most of our Muslim people, they've opted to practice this kind of arrangement. And actually here, the national headquarters of the Islamic faith, we have that department we call it Directorate of Sharia. which is handling all that kind of aspect.
So that means here,
Yes.
at this point, we can say Muslims, they are practicing the Islam freely in Uganda.
Yes, we practice it freely.
Mm.
Yes, we
So-
have freedom of worship. And actually, in most cases, at times, we could even find married couples, Muslim married couples, going to these secular courts.
Okay.
But whenever they come to know, the court come to know that
They're
they
Muslims,
had marriage, their marriage was based on Islam, they always
They
refer
will
them
send
back.
them back.
They send them
Okay.
back
Okay.
to our department here
Okay.
to be adjudicated upon.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great. Thank you so much for your time and thank you for being
Thank
with
you
us.
too.
Thank you so
I
much.
wish you all the best.
Sure.
Happy stay in Uganda.
Thank you so much.
Mashallah.
Mashallah. Thank you. طيب هو الناس انتهت من صلاة الجمعة صلينا ونزلنا. الحاجة اللي يعني ممكن يلفت الانتباه انه كان الخطبة بالعربي وبالانجليزي وباللغة المحلية اللوغاندا. الحياة اللي مهمة جدا. الخطبة كانت طويلة لكن طبعا فيها 3 لغات وفيها لغة الإشارة. أكيد لحد هنا نكون فهمنا إنه كيف اليوغنديين وكيف المسلمين في يوغندا بالذات بيتعايشوا. أكيد زواجهم، أكيد حياتهم، القضاء وكل شيء كلها بتتم عبر طريقة الشريعة الإسلامية. أنا بسط كل الكلام ده في إنه المسلمين في يوغندا تماما عايشين بكل حرية والمسلمين بيمارسوا شعائرهم بكل حرية في يوغندا. أكيد حلقتنا انتهى للحين. لو بتشوفني لأول مرة ما تنسى الاشتراك في قنواتنا على اليوتيوب زكي شو، وأنا موجود على التيك توك والانستغرام وعلى الفيسبوك. السلام عليكم. South Sudan way!
زكي شو زكي سودانيس يوتيوبر اميريتس اميريتس زكي شو زكي سودانيس يوتيوبر اميريتس مسنتر في الامارات، لا في الدنيا عامل لقطات كل الخيارات. امريكا بلد الخواجات، اسيا واوروبا، بس افريقيا اجمل القارات. سياحة وتعليم، يا مان استثمارات، كل الأسئلة لها إجابات. زكي شو تفاصيل الإجراءات، خفة ولطافة في كل الحلقات. زول في الغربة ومقابلات، ما تنسوا الدعم واللايكات. زكي شو راستا زعيم المكانات، ما تنسوا الدعم واللايكات. زكي شو راستا زعيم المكانات. زكي شو زكي سودانيس يوتيوبر اميريتس زكي شو زكي سودانيس يوتيوبر اميريتس زكي شو زكي سودانيس يوتيوبر اميريتس زكي شو زكي سودانيس يوتيوبر اميريتس